Hey guys, good afternoon. Welcome to class. I'm just going to give a couple more minutes before we begin, just to see if there are any more students that will log in for today. I know I've been getting a lot of new students this week, so just hang tight. We'll get started in a couple of minutes, okay? Okay, let's go ahead and get started with our lesson for today. Please make sure that your microphone is on mute. Okay, and for those people that are new here, the reason that I asked that is because uh, our microphones are super sensitive. So if you have it turned on, everybody in the class will be able to hear all the sound around you. And so, in order to avoid interrupting the class, just make sure that microphone is turned off while you are listening to the class. Okay. Of course, you can turn it on whenever you need to ask a question or make a comment. If it's possible, try to find a quiet space for class time so that you won't be distracted. I know that's not always possible. I know some of you guys are at home taking care of kids or busy cooking or doing other things, and I totally understand. You can also use the chat box if you want to type in questions or comments during your class. And thank you guys for arriving on time today. So let's go ahead and take a look at our newspaper article that we will be listening to for today. So we're going to be reading from the December 9th issue of News for You. And this is titled What You Need to Know About COVID-19 Vaccines. Now, the reason that we're looking at this, it's a couple months old, but I want to show you some of the vocabulary in this story. I think it will help us to better understand what's going on out there. And it'll help us with understanding some of the news that we've been hearing on social media and on TV in regards to COVID-19 and the vaccines. So I wanted to go ahead and read this because I like the vocabulary here. So the password for this week is dark, DARK. And so let's go ahead and go to the website and listen to this story. So we're going to go to newsforyouonline.com. I'm going to click on the archive, and we're looking for December 9th. And this is the story, what you need to know about COVID-19 vaccines. So I'm going to click here. And first, let's take a look at this picture here.
People walk past the Pfizer headquarters in New York City. The company says its COVID-19 vaccine has been 95% effective a month after the first dose.
Okay, so I'm going to change the text size a little bit just so we can see it a little bit better. And then I'm going to click here so we will listen to the story.
What you need to know about COVID-19 vaccines. It has been a dark time, and we are not through it yet. In less than a year, the virus that causes COVID-19 has made more than 13 million people sick. That is just in the U.S. alone. It has killed more than 260,000 in the U.S. But there is light ahead. 2 drug makers report that their vaccines for the virus work well more than 90% of the time. Others are on the way. Dr. Anthony Fauci is the government's expert on diseases that spread from person to person. The vaccines that we're talking about and vaccines to come are really the light at the end of the tunnel, he said. What happens now? One of the vaccines is made by Pfizer. Its German partner is BioNTech. Another is made by Moderna. It is working with the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. They worked at record speed to make and test them. Now the government must look at those tests. It has to make sure the vaccines work safely. Then it will decide whether to approve them. That could happen this month. If the government approves the vaccines, the companies could have at least 40 million doses ready by the end of 2020. That is enough for 20 million people. When can I get it? That depends on your job, age, and health. High-risk groups will be at the front of the line. The first group to get vaccines includes healthcare and emergency workers. The second includes other important workers, such as teachers and people who work with food. The third includes seniors or people who have other illnesses. Healthy young adults may have to wait until spring for a vaccine. How do they work? Both vaccines are given in 2 doses. That means a second shot is given 3 to 4 weeks after the first one. Most vaccines work by using a weak or dead version of the virus. These vaccines do not. They train the body's immune system to know and fight the virus. Do they have side effects? A side effect is something a drug does that is not helpful. For example, a good drug might still make you tired or cause an upset stomach. So far, The side effects of the two vaccines include some pain where you get the shots. They also include muscle aches and fever. But not all people will have side effects. What will they cost? If you pay taxes, you have already paid for the vaccines. The government has used tax money to buy hundreds of millions of doses. It says they will be free to all. Will we return to normal? A return to normal will take many months. That is because not everybody will get a vaccine right away. It will take time for enough people to get it to stop the virus from spreading. That means we will need to keep wearing masks. We will need to stay apart as much as possible. These actions, with a vaccine, can return us to normal more quickly.
Okay, so this is a story we'll be focusing on for today. You did see there were a couple of words highlighted in blue, and these are our vocabulary words, and we will be looking at them together in our lesson. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. All right, so these are the words for today. I want us to look at each one of them on their own so we can look at how to use them and what the definition is. And then at the end, we'll come back and we will practice our pronunciation, okay? So the words for today are dark, light at the end of the tunnel, record speed, at least, diseases, immune system, depends on, doses, high risk, includes, side effect. Okay, so we'll come back to this list towards the end of class. Let's start with our first word. We have dark, dark. The word dark is an adjective. So we're going to be using it to describe, okay? You can use the word dark to describe people, places, things, or ideas. Now, the word dark has several meanings. We're only going to be looking at one of those meanings today, okay? We're going to be looking at how the newspaper article used the word dark in context for our lesson today. So in this case, the word dark means bad or not happy, okay? So here are some example sentences. This is the one from the news article. It has been a dark time, and we are not through it yet, okay? So what we're describing here is basically what's going on in our lives, what's going on in the world. It's been a pretty negative experience for a lot of people. Some have gotten sick. For some people, their family has passed away. And so they're using this word dark to describe like a negative or a not so happy time. After her mom died, Nancy faced some dark times. Okay, so again, we're talking about going through a really hard time or through a difficult situation in life. I am going through a dark time in my life right now. And so you notice that for these three sentences, we're using the word dark with the word time. So dark time, okay? The reason we're saying this dark times is because we're trying to describe that there's been a period or a moment in history that has been unhappy. It's been a negative experience. We've been going through something hard. Okay. So, in order to describe that, I'm going to say dark time. Let's look at the next one. So, here we have a phrase, light at the end of the tunnel. Light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. So this phrase is actually an idiom. Okay. Now, what is an idiom? We'll be talking more about them later in the semester, but basically, it's a common expression in a language. Okay. So, this idiom, light at the end of the tunnel, you will hear it very commonly in English. And idioms do not mean exactly what they say. Sometimes it's very hard to translate idioms into another language because we don't mean literally this is happening. We use it more in an expression or a metaphor sense. Okay. So, what this means in English, light at the end of the tunnel, is the hope that good things will happen after a bad time. Okay. So, for example, in the news article today, they said the vaccines that we're talking about and vaccines to come are really the light at the end of the tunnel, he said. Okay, so what's he saying? He's saying that these vaccines are the solution to our problem. They are something good that is happening in the middle of something bad. Okay, so the vaccines are the light at the end of the tunnel. Here are a couple other ways that you can use it. It's been a hard year, but I'm beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. What does this mean? Well, I'm describing that it's been a difficult year, but now I'm beginning to see some good things happening after a long time. Okay. Sarah was homeless, but she is back in school and living with her mom. She is looking at the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. So we're talking about Sarah's life here. She was going through a tough time. So she was without a home in the past. Okay. Was. This is for the past. But now, here in the present, is she's decided to go back to school and she's in a house because she's living with her mom. Okay. So now we say she's looking at the light at the end of the tunnel, which means now, after a bad time, now she is finally beginning to see some good things happen in her life. Okay. So that's how we use this expression when we use it in English. Okay. Let's look at the next word. We have this phrase record speed. Record speed. Record speed. Now, it's a phrase, okay? We're going to call it a noun phrase. And basically, a record is the best result that has ever been accomplished in a particular sport or an activity. So, for example, we talk about the fastest time or the furthest distance or the greatest number of victories. Okay? You use the word record to say that something is the highest or lower or better or worse than it has ever been before. So, record speed, we use this phrase to talk about the fastest that something has ever been done in the history of doing that. Okay. So, The article for today, they used it here. One of the vaccines is made by Pfizer. Its German partner is BioNTech. Another is made by Moderna. It is working with the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. They worked at record speed to make the vaccine and to test it. Okay, so they made the vaccine in record speed. What does that mean? They made the vaccine the fastest that they have ever created vaccines in the history of making vaccines. It's the fastest a vaccine has ever been created. Okay, so it broke a record. Okay, let's look at the next word. At least. At least. At least is an adverb. Okay, so we're going to be using this phrase at least to describe an action. Okay, now this term at least means the minimum. Okay, so something that is not less than a specific amount. So the news article told us if the government approves the vaccines, the companies could have at least 40 million doses ready by the end of 2020. Okay, so at least 40 million doses. This means that 40 million is the minimum that they will make. They can make more, but they will not make any less. Okay, 40 million is the minimum. Clean the windows at least once a month. What am I saying? I'm telling you that you should be cleaning the windows one time a month or more, maybe 2 times a month or 3 times, but the minimum is once. Okay. You'll have to wait at least an hour. At least an hour. I'm saying that your waiting time is going to be an hour or more. Okay. Maybe you'll have to wait for 2 hours, or maybe you'll have to wait for an hour and a half. But the minimum wait time is 1 hour. It will cost at least $200. So I'm saying that the price of something is at the very minimum $200. It can be more. Maybe it will be more expensive, but the minimum is 200. Okay. Now, in terms of social distancing and knowing how to be with other people in public spaces, we have heard time and time and again that you need to be standing at least 6 feet from each other. Okay. So, what does this mean? It means at a minimum, you have to be 6 feet apart from other people around you. You can be apart 7 feet or 8 feet or 9 feet. The further, the better. But the minimum is at least 6 feet. Okay. Are there any questions so far? All right, let's go to the next one. We have the word doses. Doses. Now, the word doses is a noun. You will see that we're using it with an S at the end. So this is the plural form. If you want to talk about many, you're going to say doses. If you only want to talk about one, you will take away the S and you will say dose. One dose. This is a singular form. Okay. So doses is amounts of medicine. Okay. So the newspaper said if the government approves vaccines, the companies could have at least 40 million doses ready by the end of 2020. What does this mean? Well, they're telling us this is the amount of medicine that they will have ready, 40 million doses. Now, we know that you have to take the vaccine in 2 doses. Okay. So if you do take that COVID-19 shot, you have to go 2 times because they will give you the first dose, then you wait a couple of weeks, you go back to the clinic, and they will give you a second dose. Okay. So if they had 40 million doses ready by the end of last year, it means that 20 million people could take the vaccine. Okay. This month. So 2 doses, it's telling us how much or what amount of medicine you need for this to work. Okay. Drink at least 3 doses of cough medicine today. What am I saying? Well, I'm saying that you need to take your cough medicine 3 times today. Okay. And notice that I said at least 3 doses. So 3 doses minimum. Maybe if you're really sick, you can take 4 or 5, but you have to, at the minimum, take 3 doses of your cough medicine. If you look here in this first photograph, you'll see that this is a dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. So you would have to have 2 of these injected in your body for it to work. Okay. Now, if you ever go pick up pills from the pharmacy, you'll see some of them will say like 10 milligrams. This is a 10 milligram pill. So this is the dose that you will take. You will take one with food, once daily with food. So 10 milligrams. This one here, this pill is 20 milligrams. So this is the dose or the amount of medicine. It's 20 milligrams. And you have to take this once daily with food. Okay. Now, this is a much bigger pill than the other ones. This is a 40 milligram pill. So 40 milligrams is the dose or the amount of medication. Mm. Let's look at the next word. It's actually a phrase. We're looking at depends on. Depends on. Depends on is a phrasal verb. Okay, because this is the action here. So depends on, you will hear this a lot. It means to something that is decided by something else. It means to rely on or to be dependent on. Okay. Um, for example, we're not sure if we'll have the picnic. It depends on the weather. Okay, so what am I saying here? I mean, we want to have a picnic, but the day that it's going to happen, if it rains or it's really cold, we will not have the picnic. Now, if it's sunny or the weather is really nice outside, then yes, we will have the picnic. Okay. So we want to have this picnic on a certain day, but it depends on the weather whether we will have it or not. Okay. The question is, when can you get the vaccine? Well, that depends on your job, age, and health. Okay. So, what time you can get the vaccine depends on if you're older, if you work in the medical field, or if you have a disease or a health condition. Okay. Of course, we heard in the news article that if you work as a doctor, a nurse, anything having to do with a hospital or a clinic, you can get your vaccine first. Those people who are senior citizens or people who are sick, like those who have cancer or are diabetic, you are also eligible to get the vaccine first. Okay. Here we have another sentence. Martin depends on his wife to help pay the bills. So when I say Martin depends on his wife, what I'm saying is that Martin probably doesn't make enough money to pay the bills, or maybe he's not working right now. So he is relying on, or he is hoping on his wife to help him pay the bills. Okay. So his wife is working, she's making a check, she's bringing in money, and she's helping Martin with the bills. So we say Martin depends on his wife. Now, here's a very famous quote by Gandhi. The future depends on what you do today. What does he mean? What is he saying when he says the future depends on what you do today? Well, let's say, for example, in the future, I want to be 2 sizes smaller. I want to lose weight. In the future, I want to be 2 sizes smaller. So it depends on what I'm eating today, how much exercise I'm doing today, if I'm going to see that future happen. Okay. So that's why he's saying the future depends on what you do today. Let's say in the future, I see myself with a brand new car. Okay. Well, the future will not have a brand new car for me if I'm not saving today, if I'm not being wise with my money. Okay. So we've got this phrase depends on. Let's look at the next word. We have immune system. Immune system. Immune system. Okay. This is a noun. So, what I'm talking about here is your internal body system that protects and defends you. Now, it protects you from diseases and infections. Okay. So the article told us most vaccines work by using a weak or dead version of the virus, but these vaccines do not. They train the body's immune system to know and to fight the virus. I can also say my immune system is strong because I take vitamins every day. The child's immune system is weak because he has cancer. Okay, so when we're talking about the immune system, um, we want to know how good or how bad it is inside of our bodies. Is it defending us? Is it doing a good job? So usually when you see this word immune system, we will either be talking about the system being strong or the system being weak. Okay. Now, what is the immune system exactly? What are people talking about when they say this? Okay. If the doctor's telling you you need to develop your immune system, or you need to take vitamins and exercise and do these certain things so that your immune system becomes strong. Okay. So the parts of your body that defend you are the adenoids inside of your nose, your tonsils that are in your throat, your thymus, which is in between your lungs, your lymph nodes, which are in your armpits, under your arms, the spleen, which is on the side of the body, the lymph vessels, okay, which are kind of in the inside of your leg near your groin, okay? And then your bone marrow. So this liquid that's running inside of our bones. All of these things make up a part of our immune system. These are the pieces of our bodies that protect us. Okay. So when you hear this term immune system, that's what they're talking about right there. And so they just protect you. They protect you from diseases and from infections. Okay, are there any questions so far about our words? Any questions? All right, let's go ahead and look at the next one. So our next word is diseases. Diseases. Notice how I'm saying my S's? Diseases. Okay, so they kind of have more of a Z sound. This one here, diseases, and this one here, diseases. So they sound like Z's. Okay. Now, this word diseases, we have an S at the end. So we're using it in the plural form. We're talking about more than one, or we're talking about many. Okay. If you just want to use it to talk about one, you'll take away the S and you're going to say disease, disease. Okay. So this is a noun, and disease is a particular abnormal condition. So something that is not normal. It's not a normal condition, and it negatively affects your body. Okay. Now, usually a disease, you cannot see it. Okay. It's not something that happens on the outside of your body. Usually a disease is happening inside. Okay. It's affecting your internal organs. So diseases are known to be medical conditions. And then usually with diseases, you have specific symptoms and signs that let you know that you have that sickness. Okay. So in humans, disease is a word that we use for any condition that causes you pain, dysfunction, distress, social problems, or even death. Okay. We can also talk about health problems that affect those that are in contact with the person who is sick. All right. Now, a little bit more information. So, if somebody dies from a disease, it is called a death by natural cause. Okay. It's called a death by natural cause because it's happening inside of your body. Okay. So, there are four types of disease. There are infectious diseases, like the virus, like the flu. There are deficiency diseases, like anemia. There are hereditary diseases, like diabetes, and physiological diseases. Okay. So you want to think about things like depression. It can also be considered a disease. Now, I'm not trying to give you a science lesson. I am no science expert, not at all. But I just want to describe this word diseases a little bit more to you, so that we really truly start understanding what they're talking about when we're listening to the news or reading a health magazine. Okay. So I want to give you some examples of some diseases. Okay. If you hear a newspaper article talking about disease, we know those are things like allergies and asthma, cancer, COVID-19, diabetes, liver disease, which is also called cirrhosis, or heart disease, things like high blood pressure or arrhythmia. Okay. So, like I told you, diseases, they attack our body. Usually, you cannot see it on the outside. It's not something that you can see, but it's little things like this, all of these pictures, things that you cannot see with your eyes. You need a microscope to study them, but they are sicknesses that attack our body. All right, so let's look at our next word here. we have the word high risk. High risk. High risk is an adjective. So that means we're going to use this word to describe. Okay. So you can use the word high risk to describe something or someone. And basically, it means being exposed to a high level of danger. So, for example, some people will say, I enjoy high risk activities such as skydiving and downhill skiing and bungee jumping. Any of these kind of activities that can be dangerous, we call them high risk activities. Okay. So they can be very dangerous, but some people think they're fun. Okay. Here in the news article today, we heard that high risk groups will be at the front of the line. The first group to get vaccines includes healthcare and emergency workers. Okay. So, healthcare and emergency workers are considered high risk. Why? Because they work with sick people every day. It's their job. So, if they're working with sick people, they are exposed to viruses and bacteria. If they're working with sick people every day, it is more possible that they will get sick. Okay. So we call them a high risk group. For example, you can be considered high risk if you are over the age of 65, if you have a health condition like diabetes or high blood pressure, um, if you are a person that works with sick people, you would be considered a high risk person because there's a higher chance that you will get the virus. And there's also a chance that if you get the virus, it will hit you very seriously. It will attack your body very strongly. Okay. That's a high risk individual. Okay. Are there any questions so far? Let's go to our next word here. Includes, includes, includes. Okay. Notice we have an S here at the end, and this is a verb. Okay. It's an action. So we have an S at the end because we're using this verb for the third person in the present. Okay. So you're going to use the word includes with an S when you're talking about he, she, and it. Okay. So he includes, she includes, it includes. Now, the word includes means to contain as part of a whole, or to be a part of a whole, or to be part of a group. So, for example, here in this photo, you can see that all the little blue persons are included in the circle or in the group. The little orange person, he is not included because he is not a part. Okay. So here are some examples. The price includes dinner, bed, and breakfast. What am I saying? Well, I mean, the price includes, so the total price is for these three things together. Okay. It includes, it's a total cost. Now, the news article was telling us that the second group includes other important workers, such as teachers and people who work with food. And then the third group includes seniors or people who have other illnesses. Okay. So we're saying that people that are going to take the vaccine, the second group is for workers. Okay. Important workers. And then the third group is for older people or people who are sick. So we say includes, they are a part of. Now, if you're going to use the word includes with I, you, we, and they, you need to take off the S. Okay. So you're going to say, I include, you include, we include, They include. If you're going to use it for he, she, and it in the present, you have to have the S. Okay, it's really important to have the S if you're going to say he, she, or it. Okay, let's look at the next word. We have side effect, side effect, side effect. So this is a noun, and it means like a secondary effect or something that is undesirable that happens because of a drug or a medical treatment. Okay. So for example, we can say that chemotherapy has serious side effects. So even though when someone has cancer, this is a good therapy to go through, it helps kill their cancer, but once it helps, it also hurts. Okay. There's other things that it brings for people that are having to do it. Okay. So a side effect is something a drug does that is not helpful. Okay. So for example, a good drug might still make you tired or cause an upset stomach. So common side effects when we take medications include upset stomach, dry mouth, and drowsiness. Okay, what is drowsiness? Drowsiness is when we get sleepy. Okay. So a side effect is considered serious if the result is death, it's life threatening, or hospitalization. A side effect can be serious if it causes disability or permanent damage, or it exposes you prior to getting pregnant or during pregnancy, and then it causes a birth defect. Okay. So side effects can be serious. If you ever go and pick up medication at the pharmacy, you'll have a little bottle like this, and it will tell you what some of the side effects are. So for this particular medicine, it says that it may cause dizziness, it may cause a headache, and to not take with nitrates. Okay. So this is the word side effect. Any questions so far? Okay, let's take a look at our next word. Oh, that was it. Okay, let's go back to our list. Before we practice our pronunciation, let's read the story again. Okay, so let's take some time to listen to the story, and let's see if we understand it a little bit better.
What you need to know about COVID-19 vaccines. It has been a dark time, and we are not through it yet. In less than a year, the virus that causes COVID-19 has made more than 13 million people sick. That is just in the US alone. It has killed more than 260,000 in the US. But there is light ahead. 2 drug makers report that their vaccines for the virus work well more than 90% of the time. Others are on the way. Dr. Anthony Fauci is the government's expert on diseases that spread from person to person. The vaccines that we're talking about and vaccines to come are really the light at the end of the tunnel, he said. What happens now? One of the vaccines is made by Pfizer. Its German partner is BioNTech. Another is made by Moderna. It is working with the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. They worked at record speed to make and test them. Now the government must look at those tests. It has to make sure the vaccines work safely. Then it will decide whether to approve them. That could happen this month. If the government approves the vaccines, the companies could have at least 40 million doses ready by the end of 2020. That is enough for 20 million people. When can I get it? That depends on your job, age, and health. High-risk groups will be at the front of the line. The first group to get vaccines includes healthcare and emergency workers. The second includes other important workers, such as teachers and people who work with food. The third includes seniors or people who have other illnesses. Healthy young adults may have to wait until spring for a vaccine. How do they work? Both vaccines are given in 2 doses. That means a second shot is given 3 to 4 weeks after the first one. Most vaccines work by using a weak or dead version of the virus. These vaccines do not. They train the body's immune system to know and fight the virus. Do they have side effects? A side effect is something a drug does that is not helpful. For example, a good drug might still make you tired or cause an upset stomach. So far, the side effects of the 2 vaccines include some pain where you get the shots. They also include muscle aches and fever. But not all people will have side effects. What will they cost? If you pay taxes, you have already paid for the vaccines. The government has used tax money to buy hundreds of millions of doses. It says they will be free to all. Will we return to normal? A return to normal will take many months. That is because not everybody will get a vaccine right away. It will take time for enough people to get it to stop the virus from spreading. That means we will need to keep wearing masks. We will need to stay apart as much as possible. These actions, with a vaccine, can return us to normal more quickly.
Okay, so that was the story for this week. Let's go back to our words so we can practice our pronunciation. So listen to the word and then you can repeat it. Dark. Light at the end of the tunnel. record speed, at least, diseases, immune system, depends on, doses, high risk, includes, side effect. Okay, let's do that one more time. Listen to the word and then repeat it. Dark. Light at the end of the tunnel. Record speed. At least. Doses. Depends on. Immune system. Diseases. High risk. Includes. Side effect. Okay, make sure that you're studying these words this week. That way, they will be easier to understand and start incorporating into your conversation. Okay. Let me take some time right now to do our attendance. Okay. So I'm going to call out everybody that was in class today so I can write your name down. Let's see. I have Carolina Villarreal. I have Daniel. Verónica González. Isela Gómez. Lourdes García. María Marlene. Oksana. Patricia Chávez. I have Redmi. Valeria. And Vilma. Okay, guys. So does anybody have any questions about our class today? Any comments? Let's see here, let me get to the end. Okay, tomorrow we will continue talking about health. So make sure that you're here with that for that. We're gonna look at new vocabulary words, okay? So that was it from me today. I hope you have a good rest of your afternoon, okay? I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Goodbye.